Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hot Girls Learn Hockey podcast. My name is Sarah. If you're new here, this is the show where we talk about all things hockey, the what to knows, the who to knows, and everything in between. And today's episode was requested by nobody actually, because hardly anyone voted for him in my Instagram polls. But you know what? You guys can't tell me what to do. Unless I ask you what to do. And then you can tell me what to do. And in this case, I did ask you, but I'm doing also what I want to do. So, all this to say, today's episode is going to be a player profile on the one, the only, Sidney Crosby. He has been named one of the best hockey players of all time. Is still a current NHL player, which is very cool. And has just been an inspiration for, I'd say, like 99% of the current young NHL rosters that we have going on right now. And really just any young hockey player probably has Sidney Crosby in their top 10, if not their top 5. So I thought, why not just go and do a little expose on his life and career? Why not? There's really not a ton of stuff to catch up on in terms of anything happening in the hockey world. They did just cast Bo in the off-campus series. No words. If you know, you know, and if you don't, I'm praying for you. Also, and this will only really apply to my video episode watchers here on YouTube. I'm giving very much Simon from Alvin and the Chipmunks vibes today, and I don't know how I feel about it. And you guys better be nice to me in the comments, all right? I don't want to hear anything about it. My contacts were giving me a headache, so I plopped on my glasses, all right? Okay, all right. So yeah, without really anything else to say, let's just get into today's episode. I do, as always, have my non-branded black cherry hard seltzer. If you would like to grab a little drink, you can do that right now. If you'd like to go grab a little snack, pause it and do that right now. And let's just talk about Sidney Crosby. Cheers! Sidney Crosby. Where do we begin? Sidney Patrick Crosby was born on August 7th of 1987 in Halifax in Nova Scotia, Canada. He has one younger sister who also plays hockey. I believe she's a goaltender. Don't quote me on that. And his dad also played hockey. And due to this, Sidney grew up to be a Canadiens fan, which is very funny, considering that's, spoiler alert, not the team that he goes to. He started playing hockey at 2 years old in his basement. There was this whole running gag that he would shoot pucks into his family's dryer in the basement. But what he actually did was he set up a little net in front of the open dryer, because it was like one of those front-facing dryers, and he would shoot the pucks into the net. But regardless, he was doing that at 2 years old, which hand-eye coordination, top notch. And it wasn't until he was 3 years old when he learned how to skate. And then he pretty much kind of took off from there, you know. Got a real big feel and a real big love for ice hockey. And from the ages of 12 to 15, he would play hockey at 2 different schools, at the Shattuck St. Mary's and the Harrison Trimble High School, both of them in Canada. And like, he was developing his love for the sport as well as starting to get recognition for his excelling in said sport. All over Canada, people were starting to like learn about this kid named Sidney Crosby over in Nova Scotia. He started giving interviews at age 7, if that gives you any indication just how much of a buzz he was creating for himself. He also around this time would play in various junior hockey leagues such as the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, or the QMJHL, and the Maritime Junior Academy Hockey League, and so on and so forth. What I didn't know was that the WHA, which if you don't remember from my NHL history, it's the World Hockey Association, hockey association that was trying to like oust the NHL, and obviously it didn't work because they are no longer around and the NHL is still very much a thing and very prevalent. But the WHA tried to draft him in 2004. So Sid would have been, what, 17? But Sidney did turn it down in order to keep playing with the Rimouski Oceanic in the QMJHL, the one that I mentioned earlier. But all this buzz around this kid playing hockey and then going on to this teen playing in these junior leagues, all of this just leads up to the big moment, the 2005 NHL entry draft. And Sid was, 18 years old and looking to get drafted by a team. I don't think he would have had any doubt that he would have been drafted. It's just a matter of like who would have selected him. And on July 30th, 2005, he was selected first overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins and was offered a 3-year entry contract. It's kind of the standard for these NHL, rookie draft picks, whatever. They kind of get a little entry contract, a little taste of, their team. They can kind of dip their toes in the water. The team can kind of see exactly what's going to happen with their draft pick. And boy, were they happy. It was around this time in the media he was given the nickname Sid the Kid. And his NHL debut was on October 5th, 2005 in a game against the New Jersey Devils. And very quickly, and by very quickly, I mean like not even halfway through his rookie season, he was given an alternate captain spot for the Penguins. This 18-year-old kid, they saw him and they were like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Well, we'll pick him. And he got roasted a lot for this. Like a lot of hockey commentators were like, what is this 18-year-old little freshie gonna do for the Penguins? Like, hasn't even completed his very first season yet. What is he gonna do as an alternate captain? And they kind of were right a little bit, because at the end of his rookie season, the Penguins did have the worst record in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, come on, Sid, you can do better. And better he did, because even though, like, the team really wasn't doing that well as a whole, Sid was killing it. He was setting a lot of personal goals and personal records for his actual, his own personal stats. And he really, in the media and in his NHL campaign, was becoming like that girl. Like, he was this cute little kid who is like so fresh-faced and talented and just kind of what the NHL needed. They needed a nice breath of fresh air. And his name was Sidney Crosby. But while he was given his roses and, also at the same time being roasted for being named an alternate captain and having an entire team's, reputation put on his back, he also was starting his rivalry with friend of the channel. He doesn't know I exist, but I did another episode on him. Alex Ovechkin from the Washington Capitals, because if you don't remember, if you didn't watch that episode, Alex was drafted the year before him, but there was a lockout season for the 2004-2005 season. So he didn't actually play in the, season that he was drafted for. He played for this next season, which was the 2005-2006, which was Sidney Crosby's rookie season as well. So these two young guys who are like top seeded players, like for their age especially, they're obviously going to be pitted against each other. I mean, it is very much Girl So Confusing. Which one is Charlie and which one is Lord? You guys can decide on that. If I had to pick, I'd probably say, I'd say like Sidney was most likely, I'll say Lord. And I think that Alex gives off very much Charlie XCX, energy. But where did this rivalry begin? Well, it kind of obviously began with what I said before. They were kind of pitted against each other because it was both their rookie seasons, and they were both number one draft picks for their respective draft years. And, just all this comparison and stuff. And then they were also both nominated for the Calder Trophy, which, if you don't know, that's pretty much like the NHL's Rookie of the Year. And it always goes down to three guys. Don't know who the third guy was, but all I know is that the other two were Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby. And Alex ended up winning. So that kind of really dug a little nail into Sidney's heart and was like, okay, this guy's the enemy. Like, all right, I see you, I feel you, I hear you. We're not friends. But while he wasn't, winning Rookie of the Year, he did have a really fun stat that I saw from his rookie year that I thought was, worth mentioning. He was the first rookie to receive 100 penalty minutes and 100 points in the same season. Do with that information what you will. Now, his second NHL season, the 06 and 07, was really when he took off into the universe, the galaxy, the others. He finished the season with 36 goals and 84 assists, and he became the youngest player to receive the Art Ross Trophy. So, redemption. We lost NHL rookie, but we won Art Ross. So, who's really winning here? They're both winning, but you know what I mean. And the Penguins also were kind of looking up this year. I mean, anything's better than being bottom of your conference, let's be real. Going from the last place, like I said, up to securing a playoff spot for the first time since 2001. And, they wouldn't win the cup that year, but you know what? To make it to the playoffs is like still a feat in and of itself, let's be real. And then on May 31st of 2007, that was when the Penguins gave captaincy to Sidney Crosby. He became the youngest team captain in NHL history at only 19 years old. He was also only 19 when he won the Art Ross, I forgot to mention. So all this is happening his second season. He's 19. He's still a baby face at this point, guys. And he was also winning so many more other notable awards. Like he won the Hart Memorial Trophy, being the second youngest to win that. And also the Lester B. Pearson Award, him being the youngest to win that one, and also became one of the youngest players to be named to the NHL All-Star team. So all this leads to the 2007-2008 season, where the Penguins signed him on to an additional 5 years. So remember, he only had a 3-year entry-level contract. Penguins said, we want to keep this kid. His second year in, he led us to the playoffs. We're keeping him. Dibs. We're keeping him. He also this season, a little fun fact, got his first Gordie Howe hat trick. So if you don't know who Gordie Howe is, I'm going to do a video on him as well. He's one of the greatest hockey players, but he was a hockey player. And he had this thing that became what's known as a Gordie Howe hat trick, where a normal hat trick is scoring 3 goals in a game. A Gordie Howe hat trick is scoring 1 goal, 1 assist, and having 1 fight. So he got this in a game against the Bruins for this season, and it was his very first NHL fight. So slay, we love fighting in hockey. Safe fighting, non-lethal fighting. Yeah. He also would get injured this season and end up missing 2 months of games, which was not very swaggy, but it's not going to be the first that we hear of him missing games because he's injured. Let's just say that. This leads us to the 2008 playoffs, where the Penguins did make it to the final round against the Detroit Red Wings, but they would lose in 6 games, making the Detroit Red Wings the winner for that year's Stanley Cup. And again, just like last season, this one, the 08 to 09, he would miss a couple of games early on in the season due to some just minor injuries. Nothing too major yet. Put a pin on that. And regardless of him missing some games, the team still thrived, and they still made it to the 2009 Stanley Cup playoffs, where they won the first round. And in these playoffs, in the second round, they ended up being put against the Washington Capitals, which, if you don't know, that's the team that Alex Ovechkin plays for. And if you need a little refresher, they're still being pitted against each other, Ovechkin and Crosby. It's like the girls are fighting, and the NHL is just kind of encouraging it. So these games were highly anticipated, very much. We need to watch Crosby versus Ovechkin in these Stanley Cup playoff games. And it would go in Pittsburgh's favor because they did defeat the Capitals and then go on to the third round, and then eventually made it get to the finals again against the Detroit Red Wings again. So it's like the same shit, different year, kind of like what happened with these past 2 Stanley Cups. But in this case, it was different from the previous year because this year they actually won. Like, they won the 2009 Stanley Cup. It was the first cup for Sidney Crosby, and they won it in 7 games. This made him become the youngest NHL captain to win the cup since 1895. He was only 21 years old when he won this first cup. He also got like heat from like the press and stuff for not shaking hands with some of the Detroit players, but I mean, he didn't care. He's like, I would rather go celebrate with my teammates and celebrate this accomplishment than go shake hands with this other team. All right, peace, bye. Which you can't fault him for, let's be real. But if you wanted a repeat for next season, you didn't get one because they lost in the second round in the 2010 playoffs. And the 2010-2011 season would see him miss a bunch of games due to getting some injuries, like multiple, more specifically and more importantly, a concussion that he received. And they did make it to the 2011 playoffs, but they lost in the first round. And the concussion that he received that season would have him miss the first 20 games of the next season, the 2011 and 2012 season. And he would try to come back. He came back maybe for 1 or 2 or a couple of games, but if you know anything about concussions, like, it is like a full body thing. Like, it's not just your head. It can make you feel super, super nauseous and just not good. And so at some point, Sid was like, okay, I need to listen to my body. I need to go and get actual treatment for this thing so that I don't have to retire in my 20s. Especially retire from something that I worked a long time to achieve. But thankfully, due to some really amazing medical professionals, he was back in action by March of 2012. And this was just in time for the 2012 Stanley Cup playoffs. Unfortunately, they would lose in the first round, but people were just happy to see him back on the ice and see him feeling a lot better than he did before. It was also this year in June of 2012 where the Penguins extended his contract that would keep him with them until, at the very least, to the 2004 to 2005 season. I want you guys to hold this information because I will come back to it later. So just keep this in the back of your head. Are you keeping it there? Yeah? All right, good. Keep this in the back of your head. I will refer to it later. Hi, guys. Sorry for the abrupt audio cut. I completely meant to say 2024 to 2025 season. I don't know. I was like half asleep recording this. So I'm so sorry, but I meant the 2024 to the 2025 season. Okay, all right. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. But let's continue on with the timeline. So it's the start of the 2012-2013 season. But it's not a normal start because it was a delayed start because, like I've said before, in my previous whatever episode where I talk about the NHL and lockout seasons and stuff, this is another lockout season. So it was pushed back to, I believe, start in either December or January, which normally hockey seasons start in October of that first year. You know, in this case, it would have started in October of 2012, but it didn't because of the lockout. And then once it did start, he was on a hot streak with his playing. Really going for it on the ice, racking up goals, racking up points, all this leading to a very unfortunate accident in March of 2013. More specifically, March 30th of 2013, in a Pittsburgh versus New York Islanders game, Sid ended up being on the receiving end of a slap shot from one of his teammates named Brooks Orpik. And, you know, any puck to any part of the body is going to leave a bruise, especially with how fast and hard hockey players are hitting the pucks, especially in a slap shot. But in this case, Sid did catch it with his mouth. And there is video footage of this, obviously. It was in 2013, so there's televised games. And I did watch the video of it happening, and it's gnarly. It literally, like, just Orpik just slap shots. It goes right to Sid's mouth and just ricochets off it, and then he's down. He's down for the count. I just cannot imagine the amount of pain that he probably was in. And oh my god, it's like, don't watch it if you're very squeamish, because there is blood on the ice and there's blood on his towel when they finally get him up and get a towel for him to walk him off the ice. And this incident, which complete accident obviously, caused him to lose several teeth, and also it broke his jaw, so he had to get some very extensive dental work done on his mouth in order to save those pearly whites and save his golden smile. But he was looking fine and dandy, and he was able to actually go back and play by May of that year, just in time, again, for the 2013 playoffs. He's making it just in time for these playoffs, guys. Let's give him some snaps for some speedy recovery, all right? But they only made it to the third round, and then they got knocked out, so. And if you've been following and keeping up and listening and stuff, you might notice there's like long stretches of time in these past couple of seasons where he's missing multiple games, multiple months of games. But the 2013 and 2014 season did see him playing 80 games, like consecutively, for the first time since the 2009 and the 2010 season. So, slay, we love that. We love our star players not getting hurt. And then that season's playoffs, so the 2014 playoffs, they only made it to the second round. And the season that followed this, the 14 and 15, it was rough. It was what a lot considered to be a big slump season, not only for the Penguins, but for Sid himself. He was just kind of going through something, and everyone watching him play could tell. There was a lot of commentary about it at the time, and, you know, people giving him some grace, some people not giving him some grace, saying like, hey, every player goes through a little slump phase, like it's not really a big deal. But what you got to think about it in the fact of like, there's this kid and he's like a really baller player, and then he has one bad season. It kind of just throws you off because you kind of in your head have this vision of him of he can do no wrong, and when he does have an off season, you're like, oh my god, I'm like brought back to reality. So not a very good season. And in the 2015 playoffs, they got knocked out of the very first round. So yeah, like I said, the team just wasn't doing that well either, and Sid was just in a rut. But this would all turn around in the 2015 to 2016 season with a new, younger head coach and a breath of fresh air to the team. They bounced back, they meaning Sid as well as the Penguins. And that year, the 2016 playoffs, they actually made it to the finals. And this was the one that was against the San Jose Sharks, the one and so far only time that the Sharks have made it to the finals. And like I mentioned in my Sharks episode, Pittsburgh did win, so Sid got his second Stanley Cup. And I'd like to take a moment right now and just say, this man, I feel like, was a magnet to injuries, because he ended up missing the first 6 games of the next season, the 2016 to 2017 season, due to getting another concussion during practice. And then he would go on in the 2017 playoffs in the second round, getting another fucking concussion. Like, oh my god, it's insane. But they persevered. Sid persevered for, I don't know how he did it, but they made it to the finals and they won a second year in a row. So they won the 2016 and also the 2017 Stanley Cups. So like, Sid's just like feeling on top of the world, probably also not really knowing where he is half the time because his head's so damn concussed. He's gonna, have to go and donate his brain to science, but he's still feeling on top of the world. And he got to play his actual first full season in a long time in the 2017 to 2018 season. Because, like I've been saying, man keeps getting injured and missing games, but he was able to actually play all of the games, all 80, I believe it was 82 at this time, all 82 games. And that season was actually a really good one for him. He had a lot of personal records and stats happen to him. He had his first natural hat trick, which is 3 consecutive goals uninterrupted by any other player shooting from either team. He also scored his 400th goal as well as his 700th goal in this season. So he was just, doing good, fresh off back-to-back Stanley Cup wins. He got to play a full season. He's, doing pretty well for himself. And they did get knocked out in the second round for the 2018 playoffs, but it's, coming off a back-to-back, it's, less likely to get 3 in a row as it is to get 2 in a row. So all leading up to the 2019-2020 season. And if you've been living under a rock, 2020 was when COVID started. So that season was shortened. They got knocked out in the qualifying round, Pittsburgh did. And I mean, that whole end of that season was probably really gnarly to watch and try to keep up with, because it really kicked up, COVID did, in March of 2020. And that's typically the month right before playoffs happen. So as the odds were just against really everyone that made playoffs that year. And just like the last season, the 2020 to 2021 season was shortened due to COVID restrictions. And really not much happened that year. I mean, the Pittsburgh got knocked out in the first round, but Sid was still killing it as a player. So it's now become kind of a pattern of really good player, but teams tend to become pretty mid. And in the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs, he even got like an elbow to the face by the Trouba train. So Sid's doing great as a player. Team's not doing very well. And in the 2023 Stanley Cups, they would miss playoffs for the first time since the 05 and 06 season, which was Sid's very first season, if you're, not remembering the very beginning of this episode. And they, again missed in 2024, and missed again this year in 2025. So where are we now? He is still captain and playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He signed a 2-year extension contract in 2024, so he's at least going to be with the team until next year, 2026. But remember that thing I told you to put in the back of your mind? I want you to bring it forward now, because we're going to go over some juicy goss. There's been rumors that Sid's looking to go. She's looking to go spread her wings on another team. I'm just going to say this is all speculation. Nothing is confirmed. He himself neither has his agent said anything. So take all this with a grain of salt. Remember, I said it's hot, juicy goss. So that's gossip. So don't really take anything I say at face value. We're just having fun. But there was a rumor right after the playoffs this year that he was going to go to the Oilers, which if he went to the Oilers, having the Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, powerhouse players on the same team, all the other teams just go home at that point. Oh my gosh. But they were quickly shut down by Nathan McKinnon, who is Sid's bestie. He plays on the Colorado Avalanche. And that leads me to this other rumor that Sid's looking to go hit the slopes, go to Colorado and see what's up over there. Again, it's just rumors. We don't know if he'll stay on the Penguins, if he'll retire. We don't know what's going on in that guy's head, because he's a pretty private guy. Like, to the point where really, like, the only things we know about him are from, like, his friends and sometimes his family. The man's not married or dating anyone as far as we know. He doesn't have any kids as far as we know. And he is just focused on his career and racking up so many sponsorship deals. That's like his main thing, is other than just being a really nice hockey player, he's been known for like having some of the highest contract deals with brands like Tim Horton, Bauer, brands like that. So he's just focused on getting his bag, and can't fault a guy for that. So that's kind of where we leave the saga of Sidney Crosby. Sorry if I talked so much about his hockey career. It's literally because there's really not much we know about his like personal life, because like I said, dude's really quiet. He just plays and then goes home, sleeps, eats, maybe poops 1 or 2 times, and then goes back and just plays some more. Like, there wasn't really many juicy or interesting things about his personal life, other than just him being a smartass in interviews and stuff. But yeah, so those are the life and times of Sidney Crosby. He's still currently playing, so you can definitely see him if you'd like. This upcoming season, he's still playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins, as far as we know, as far as we're aware. But yeah, so that is all for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. Also, if you're listening to this on Spotify, please make sure to give this show a good rating. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's at SarahXCrake, or you can also follow me on TikTok, which is at HGLHpod. Also, guys, I have something very, very exciting, like I mentioned last week, coming up this week, this Thursday. I am so happy to announce that I am going to be on the Hockey Princess podcast. I was so excited to be interviewed and be a guest on that show. That comes out this Thursday, July 31st. I will, of course, be posting links to it, and I cannot wait for you guys to watch it. It was so much fun. We talk about the San Jose Sharks, we talk about the Chicago Blackhawks, we talk about the NHL draft, we talk about the off-campus series and other hockey-related romance books, and it's just 2 girls yapping about what they love most, hockey. And I was so happy to be asked to be on the show, and I'm so excited for you guys to watch it or listen to it. So yeah, that is all for today. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.